Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is settled, and thank you for allowing us to make this presentation today. My name is Clement Bolliger, and I am president of the majority of the Bolliger Group companies, including Bolliger Rome, Bolliger Milan, Bolliger Express, and Bolliger UK. I personally live in London at the moment, but I am representing Bolliger Italy, of course, for the purpose of this RFP. And I will have the pleasure of hosting this presentation today, as kindly requested by Generali as part of the global relocation tender. The Bolliger colleagues listening in are Ms. Simona Serpico, Ms. Nunzia Palacchino, Ms. Carmen Pelaglia, Ms. Eleonora Tomasetti, and Ms. Ambra Mazzuzzi, while our esteemed guest from our partners in Asia is Ms. Shubha Narayanan of Silk Relo, and I will be introducing everyone in just a moment. So, having completed some basic introductions, I would like to move on to the body of the presentation, in which we shall be covering an overview of Bolliger, including our geographical reach and the networks we have in place to service the global requirements of our relocation clients. Then we'll move on to the main people that will be participating to the management of the contract, should we have the honor of serving Generali. Following that, we shall be discussing the details of our proposed solution, which will include how our teams shall be organized and the role of our partners and subcontractors in the global theatre. Then, once we've completed the overview of our proposal, we would like to discuss a little of what Bolliger's approach to customer service is. Then maybe we can mention some of the similar projects we are currently running. And finally, we will finish off with a generalized Q&A session where I and my colleagues will be available to discuss any questions you may have. Okay, any questions so far? Everybody on board? Excellent. Let's begin by introducing the company and later our team. Bolliger is originally born in Rome, Italy, founded by my great-grandfather in 1909. This year, we celebrate 113 years of operations in removals and relocation. Unlike most removal companies, we were actually founded as an actual removals company, in that most moving companies start out as something else connected to the transport industry and then become moving companies at a later stage. Bolliger instead, since the start, was focused on relocating its clients overseas, originally servicing the Italian migrants moving to the New World, and then over the course of decades, changing our focus to the corporate world. We've lived and thrived through 2 world wars, 3 recessions, 4 generations of the Bolliger family, and at least 6 or 7 of my girlfriends. So overall, I think we can all agree that we've been very resilient. Over the course of the past 10 years, we have dedicated our attentions to the new industry of corporate mobility and are delighted to have dovetailed such a complex and modern art form into our family-oriented organization. Although Bolliger enjoyed a presence in New York for over 40 years, Bolliger considers Europe to be its stronghold and its diving board to the world. We are delighted to boast thriving offices in Milan, Rome, Florence, London, Lugano, and Madrid. Touching briefly on our removals heritage, although not the focus of this presentation, thanks to our investment in infrastructure, we are also happy to command a formidable fleet of over 50 long-haul vehicles. So we can literally say that we are physically present in every corner of Europe every single day. Now, although we may make strength of our European foothold, Bolliger does not simply consider itself a European player. Rather, since its inception, Bolliger's focus has very much been on the global theatre, by way of memberships to some of the planet's most prestigious networks of independent relocation companies. Indeed, my grandfather was one of the founding members of some of the major intercontinental associations of today's modern age, including Fide and Omni. And if I may briefly call for a pause here, I think this particular topic merits a moment of reflection, in that the single name companies that you're most likely speaking to, as well as us, they have no choice but to work with their own offices. If, for instance, an office in Sao Paulo, for example, performs badly for Generali, the single name companies cannot do anything about it. Indeed, they are stuck using that branch over and over again, and thus performing badly for you over and over again. The best a single name company can offer you in that case is a meh, and they promise to improve. While Bolliger, if our agent in any corner of the world, if they underperform, they're gone. If we or you don't like what is happening in any of the locations we are operating in, we can improve overnight. And if you extend this process over decades, like Bolliger has been doing, you end up with the best of the best. And it's constantly evolving and improving. I am keen to highlight that particular fact because we are very proud of our approved vendor list, perfected over decades. We consider it to be one of the many valuable assets and indeed an industrial secret. Having explained one of our advantages over our single name competitors, I would like to discuss the various networks we handpick our agents from, including FIDI, Omni, IAM, Allied, and of course the ERC. First off, I would like to begin with FIDI, which my grandfather helped start. FIDI is the global alliance of quality certified international moving and relocation companies. It boasts over 600 members and is the only collection of relocation companies that enforces a quality certification as a prerequisite to membership. Next, I would like to highlight another association that my grandfather helped start, which is Omni, which is in effect is the Fortune 100 of the FIDI. It represents the top 100 companies in terms of size and performance of the FIDI Association, and we are over the moon to enjoy its benefits. Moving on, no relocation presentation would be complete without the mention of the worldwide ERC, which is by far the largest relocation association globally. With over 7,000 members, it is without a doubt one of the powerhouses for the divulgation of innovation in the mobility sector. So if there's a new trend in the world of relocation, we will find out about it through the ERC. Next on our list is the Allied International Franchise Network, the working branch of Serva, the largest relocation conglomerate in the world. Bolliger has been part of the Allied network and a franchisee since the 1980s for both Italy and Spain, and we are proud to support them for some of their largest clients, including Apple and McKinsey and many more. And finally, I know this association is not strictly a relocation network, but I personally still believe it is an excellent resource for global mobility, and I still delve from them regularly. I am talking about the International Association of Movers, which boasts 2,000 members in 170 countries, and it encompasses some of the oldest companies in the mobility sector. And now that we've listed through the resources through which we identify and fine-tune our individual local operators and contractors on a global scale, I think that we should explain whom we've partnered with to manage all of these agents worldwide in a finely tuned, regimented symphony. And so it is my pleasure to introduce to you our tightest partners strategically positioned in the major time zone regions, including Silk Relocation, part of the Asian Tigers Group, Dwellworks in Cleveland, and of course, our great friends at the Relocation Online software house. I will now introduce them all individually, and later I will explain how they all fit together. In Asia, we are absolutely delighted to have partnered with the highly respected Silk Relo. Silk Relo is the relocations arm of the mobility giant, the Asian Tigers Group, which is possibly the largest mobility network in Asia. The Asian Tigers represent 30 offices in 14 countries and command over 16,000 relocations a year. Moving on to the Americas, our colleagues in Ohio are the amazing team at Dwellworks, whom we've partnered with before for multiple contracts to help us guide the American time zones. Dwellworks are without question absolutely obsessed with quality, with over 35 years in the relocation industry and always striving for the absolute best performance. And of course, last but by no means least, our friends at Relocation Online. Bolliger's trusted software makers, without whom no relocation would be complete. We have already been speaking to Relocation Online about the opportunity to serve Generali, and they are incredibly eager to tailor their cutting-edge program to Generali's needs. Okay, now that we've given you an overview of our company, I think it's time that we start meeting our team, some of whom are currently listening into this video feed. In this section of the presentation, I will be briefly listing all the colleagues and their general roles within the hierarchy of the contract delivery. And then later, we shall explain how all the roles fit into one another. So I will begin at the very top of the pyramid with Miss Simona Serpico, whom is the spearhead of our proposal for Generali and is based in Rome. Miss Simona has been with Bolliger for 10 years now. She started out as a photocopy girl, and by hard work and sheer brilliance, she skyrocketed to managing director of the Rome branch. And I couldn't be more proud of her. Simona is not only the managing director of the team that runs the Luxottica account, and hopefully for Generali, should we have the honor of serving you, but her branch also runs the American Embassy account and the World Food Programme of the United Nations. Just to remind everyone, Miss Simona is currently participating into this video conference. Next, it is my pleasure to introduce Miss Ambra Mazzuzzi, our lead saleswoman at Bolliger Rome and headhunter for esteemed clientele such as Generali. Indeed, it was Ambra that put us in contact with Generali for this global tender, which has brought us here today. Naturally, Miss Ambra is also listening in at the moment. Moving on, we have Miss Ramona Ranucci, based in Rome, whom will be supervising the activities of the EMEA region. Essentially, when something goes wrong in EMEA, Ramona will be the first to know and put a remedy to it. Ms. Ranucci has been with Bolliger for 10 years now and has participated to the coordination of some of our major accounts. Ms. Ramona's counterpart for the Asia-Pacific region is Ms. Shubha Narayanan, based in Singapore and listening in. Our collaboration with Shubha derives from our partnership with Silk Reload Company, whom shall be overseeing our Asian operations, and we are delighted to have her on board as she has 13 years experience in the relocation industry. Moving swiftly on, Ramona's and Shubha's counterpart in the Americas is Miss Meredith Kennedy of Dwellworks, based in Cleveland, Ohio. When I spoke to Miss Kennedy about today's presentation, she was regretful she could not participate, but she did ask me to let everybody know that she was here in spirit and is very excited about the possibility of working for Generali. Turning our attention to a more local level, as prescribed by the RFP of the Generali tender, all of the 3 regional managers will be in very tight coordination with our assignment management consultant, based at Generali's headquarters in Milan, or plant, as I've heard it called in other contracts. And for the purpose of this role, it is my great pleasure to introduce Miss Eleonora Tommasetti. Miss Eleonora is a wonderful colleague that we had the enormous pleasure of stealing from Santa Fe about 2 years ago. She has a 10-year experience in the mobility sector with hundreds of happy families relocated both inbound into Italy and outbound. And I, as well as the entire team, are absolutely convinced that she will be a great match for Generali. And just for everyone's information, Eleonora is currently assisting to this presentation today. Now, to coordinate the 3 time zone regional managers and Eleonora at Generali's headquarters, as a director of the orchestra to whom everyone shall report to, it is my pleasure to introduce our secret weapon, Miss Carmen Pelaya, our key account manager for Generali, based in Rome together with a team of dedicated relocation coordinators. Ms. Carmen comes with a substantial relocations career and has been pivotal in the successful implementation of the groundwork for the Luxottica Global Relocation Contract that Bolliger Rome is currently delighted to be managing. Of course, it would not be fair to mention Ms. Carmen without mentioning her boss, Ms. Nunzia Palacchino, Senior Manager of Bolliger Rome and Key Account Manager for the Luxottica contract. whom has committed to serving an advisory role to Carmen and the team as they work for Generali. Now, you would never be able to tell from Nuncia's youthful complexion, but Miss Nuncia has been with Bolliger in the management of removals for over 30 years, and has been managing relocation since the birth of the department in Bolliger about 10 years ago. And finally, the last person to be listed in our presentation, but by no means the least important, we have Miss Simonetta Menta, whom will be in charge of overseeing all the removals operations globally. Miss Simonetta is based in Rome and has been with Bolliger now for 15 years. And we are absolutely overjoyed to have managed to isolate her as head of removals for the delivery of this contract, should we have the honor of being selected. So now that we've met the team, I shall attempt to clarify the organization of the hierarchy and the information flows amongst the team. As you may have gathered, Ms. Simona Serpico is going to be the chief decision maker for this contract. She will be overseeing the entire cascade of information and will be present daily to deal with your queries and SNE's escalations. To Miss Simona, Miss Carmen will report, whom in turn shall be supported by the advisory role of Nuncia. Carmen will be receiving all the escalations from all the time zone regions, while Ramona, Shuba, and Meredith will be controlling the EMEA, APAC, and AMER local agents respectively. We are keen to ensure that there are regional managers in place and that we recognize that often issues can be time sensitive. And in our experience, to have someone in a similar time zone to the relocating family is going to facilitate the resolution of issues before they escalate. And of course, while all this intensive relo activity is going on in the foreground, let's not forget the fully dedicated removals team based in Rome, coordinating from start to finish all the removals in order to alleviate the reload team. The removals team will be headed up by Simonetta, whom we mentioned earlier, but I also want to spare a moment to mention some of the other team members, including Alessia Pervitali, Michele Angeloni, and Anna Pappascena on the intercontinental side, and Mr. Mauro Santonati, dedicated to European traffic, and Mr. Giacomo Wiesemann, whom shall be dedicated to the north of Italy, almost as a removals counterpart to the assignment management consultant. So to recap, at the base of the pyramid where the work is being produced, we have a global agent network with a very heavy and special focus on EMEA and Milan, all of which is tightly controlled by managers in the relative time zone regions, where EMEA, APAC, and AMER ultimately report into Carmen and thus into Simona, with the removals team working alongside all of them. Now, you will be happy to know that we're almost finished. But before I come to the concluding slides of this presentation, I think I want to take another moment of reflection here to touch upon the subject of customer service, if I may, because this is probably where it fits best in the presentation. You see, I cannot underline enough how Generali is not just another customer to Bolliger, or to Silk Relo, or to Dwellworks, or to Relocation Online. Unlike with the faceless single name companies you're probably also talking to us, you're not just another sausage in the kitchen of a sausage factory. You are the client of a century-old family company with family values. And it is this family-run business approach where you will probably see the greatest difference between ourselves and the competition, where Generali is our utmost focus, as opposed to the very standardized, the client is just a number kind of approach you will receive from the single name competitors you're probably talking to. And to your great advantage, we are absolutely local. We completely understand your culture, and we can and will do whatever it takes to make this a relationship you will not want to walk away from. And now, to conclude the scripted portion of this presentation, it is my absolute pleasure to present to you some of our favorite clients. On the relocation side, we have some names that all Italians will recognize, such as Telecom, Telecom Italia, Bulgari, Kuwait Petroli, and Moncler, and of course, Luxottica, whom we've referenced several times during this presentation, since Luxottica is a contract we are currently managing with a very similar size and scope to Generali's tender. While for removals, I would like to mention 4 relationships that can be compared to Generali in terms of prestige and volume and turnover, including the American Embassy, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, the World Food Programme of the United Nations, and of course, Banca Intesa San Paolo. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the scripted portion of the presentation. Thank you immensely for your kind patience and attention today. You have been a wonderful audience. I shall now open the floor to questions.